Hi guys! Okay, so first of all, I'm very sorry this is coming so late. I was supposed to have a 2 weeks break in August and I was planning on doing this Q&A then, but as you can see, it came now because this 2 weeks break became a no-day break because of work, so yeah, that happens. I'm also sorry about the video quality because I lost my camera's battery charger and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna find it somehow someday, but yeah, in the meantime I'm gonna use my webcam, so yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, let's begin. So I had a lot of questions and I had to do a selection. As I said when I launched the Q&A, I'm not gonna answer questions about the characters themselves because since I'm answering in a video, I'm not like drawing the characters, answering the questions. It was kind of weird. So any questions like Charlie's favorite ice cream flavor is not going to be answered. I'm sorry about that. And also I'm not answering questions that contain spoilers. So for example, those who asked me, is the dad gonna come back? Is James gonna become a good guy? What's gonna happen? Stuff like that. I'm not gonna answer these questions either because I don't want to spoil the story. But that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna introduce myself. So I'm Marvin, obviously it's not my real name, but whatever. I am the creator of Humor Me, but if you're here, you probably know that. I am also the creator of a short story called The Monster Under My Bed that is published on Webtoon, link in description. And I also work in the animation industry. I am a 2D traditional animator or an animation supervisor, depends on the project. And I live in France, in case my accent didn't betray me. So let's get started on the questions, because I have quite a few. Do you look like your profile picture? No. What country do you live in and has it affected the story? So, as I just said, I'm from France. The story is supposed to take place in the UK and I've never lived there, so it probably shows a lot, but it's not really important where the story takes place, so I don't feel like it's a big drawback. And I think it has affected the story because like there are probably some French cultural stuff that bleed through the story, and a lot of architecture as well, because I like the city where they live in. It is like a blend of everything I love about some French cities, a kind of a bit of London, but I didn't really do that well, but like Paris and some French coastal cities, and like a lot of cities in France have a lot of stairs, so yeah, that shows. So question 3, how are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. It's been a stressful year, but I was really lucky and didn't get too heavily impacted by COVID, so I have nothing to complain about. How tall are you? About this tall. Do you work on Humor Me alone? Yep. I feel like I should try to find an assistant at some point. Well, not an assistant, but maybe someone who would draw the backgrounds and maybe do the flat colors. But I'm not sure how to go about that. But yeah, I'm still thinking about it. For now, the reason I have with Humor Me and my work and stuff like that means that since I'm not working full-time on it, it's a bit weird to like employ someone. But yeah, I should probably also get a beta reader at some point because English isn't my mother tongue, obviously. But yeah, for now it feels like it's kind of working, so I don't know. There is a lot of sun for a supposedly rainy day. Okay. Tradi or digital, what's your equipment? It's entirely digital. I use a Wacom Cintiq. I work on Clip Studio Paint, and unfortunately I can't really draw traditionally anymore. It's been so long, so it's a bit of a shame, but that's the way it is. I'm just a lot faster digitally, so yeah. Are you staying hydrated? Okay, question 8. What inspired you to make this story? Any aspect that relates to your own life? So I had this question a lot, so I'm going to try to answer it a bit thoroughly. Okay, so I've always loved the tropes you can find in shoujo mangas and K-dramas. Like, for example, the trope of the girl who disguises herself as a boy, who is a scholarship student in a school full of rich guys. Yeah, well, a bit of everything you can see in Humor Me. But I've always had a hard time relating to the main character. Like, the concept and the premise are always kind of promising. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be good. And then the main girl always ends up being like very passive, and it feels like she's here to make the strong boy shine more, And it always disappointed me a bit. Like, not in every stories, of course, but even for the trope where she disguises herself as a boy, it's like when she's trying to act like a boy, she's very cool and brave and has goals of her own. And when it's like the facade is over, she's a girl again, well, she becomes very wimpy, she starts crying a lot and stuff like that, and I'm like, why, what? And so one day I was like, okay, maybe I should try to write my own take on that trope, so that I have a story that I would have loved to read when I was a teenager, or even now. And that's how Humor Me was born. At first I wanted it to be a novel, because I've been wanting to write a novel for quite some times, but I wanted it to be in English so that Tradi could speak in a way that was not gendered, or as little as possible, and in French it's a lot more difficult. But my level in English is nowhere near enough to write a full novel, so I was like, okay, I can draw, I can maybe do a comic out of it, so it became a comic. As for the parts that relate to my own life, well, obviously some of the messages are going to be my own, like Charlie's view on gender, for example. And I've always had a great relationship with my family, so I really like writing siblings interactions, because I really like my siblings. Why Humor Me? Because I feel like it's a bit what real life interactions are. People humoring each other's until they start to actually care. So I feel like it fits my characters pretty well as well. And I don't know, I like the ring of it. I know it's not a great title for different reasons, like the fact that it's not easy to find it on Google, and it makes people think that it's a gag-a-day comedy about me, which it's not. But yeah, I don't really regret it. I like it that way. The thing I don't like is that I made a mistake, because I tried to use a UK slang everywhere in the story and UK words, and then I forgot to put a U in Humor Me. So that was very stupid of me. Question 10. How long will the story be? Did you write the whole thing already, or do you write as you go? So it's going to be fairly long. I think we might be a quarter or a third into the story. And I did write the whole outline from the beginning, but I don't have every scene entirely written. Like, in some of them I just have bits of dialogues and I know broadly what's gonna happen in them, but I try to have like 3 to 5 upcoming chapters written. You've been making this comic for a very long time. Has that affected the story? Has the story changed and adapted over the years, or are you still fairly consistent with the original storyline you planned out? So it has changed a lot. I grew up quite a bit since I started it as a writer and as a person. And at first, when I started, it was just a light, fun little project that I wanted to try to see if I could do it and if I actually liked it, And then I started to discover, as I was writing, the messages I actually wanted to convey, and I tried to refine them every time I open my script. It's also very useful to have the reader's feedback, because I can see if I manage to convey these messages well or not. Anything you'd do differently if you could do it again? It's a bit of a trick question, because every mistake I've done, and I've made a lot, I had to do to grow and realize that it was a mistake, So if I could do it differently, of course I would change things, but I've made my peace with that because I feel like they were necessary in a way for me to be at the point I am right now. But if I could do it again, I would probably get a bit further away from mangas, because I feel like the tone I've set for my story is a bit more like realistic and somber in a way than the type of shoujo mangas I used to read. And some gags fall flat, in my opinion. They don't really work with the tone I've set, but it's a bit of a detail. And I would probably use a more diverse cast. Like, I feel like all my characters are canonically good looking in a way, you know, like tall and thin and stuff like that. And I feel like for a story that relies on characters and characters' personality and interactions, I kind of missed an opportunity, you know, to use like a more physically diverse casting. And yeah, I don't know, that's a bit of a regret. And I would add the you in Humor Me. What was the inspiration for the characters? Do you relate to any of them? So I didn't base them on real people, but there is a bit of myself in every characters. Well, most of them. For example, I relate to Charlie a lot because we have the same sense of humor and the same view on gender. But I'm a lot more of a team player than she is, and I feel a lot closer to Fitz when it comes to social interactions, for example. So it's not something I do consciously. I think it's a bit of a like, you can't escape putting a bit of yourself in your characters when you write. Have you worked a lot of jobs like Charlie has? Well, I had a few students' jobs when I was in high school. Like, you know, being a tutor, a babysitter, a graveyard keeper, you know, the usual. But nowhere near what Charlie does. So a lot of people ask me to show them my character's gender bent, and I actually drew them that way for my Patreon backers a while ago. So since it's been so long, I feel like I can share it with you. So yeah, here you go. I even tried to find names for them. And I feel like Liza as a man looks like Draco Malfoy, but yeah. How old are all the characters? Okay, so Lucian is, as you know, 3, almost 4. Charlie is 17, going on 18. And just a reminder, in the UK, when you turn 18, you are legally an adult. So this is important. James and Louis are 19. Fitz is 21. Isaac is 24. And Amy is 6 years old. Is Charlie secretly a potato? Yes. Why are your episodes so short and so far apart? What would it take for you to post more? The big question. I had that one a lot too. So unlike a lot of webcomic creators on Webtoon and Tapas, I am not actually aspiring to become a full-time comic creator. I have a full-time job already, as I said, that I really like, and I'm not planning on quitting anytime soon. So I'm not a freelance artist who can afford to take less and less illustration jobs to concentrate more and more on their comic as it starts to bring money to the table. And you know, I'm not sure I would be cut out for the loneliness that comes with being a comic artist full-time. I really, really value teamwork and working on a project that is, you know, bigger and better than what I could come up on my own. So yeah, but who knows? Maybe someday comic studios will become a thing in France, or I will stop having good opportunities in animation and I will want to work on my comic more. I don't know, anything could happen. But yeah, it means that I can only work on Humor Me at night and in the weekends whenever I'm not with my friends and family. So this is the schedule I found that worked for me without burning out, you know. I know it's a shame. It frustrates me too. I want the story to develop faster. But, you know, I keep thinking that when the story will be done, the readers who stumble upon it won't care how long it took to make. And I just want the story to be good and to have fun making it, you know. And also, I like the freedom that comes with making something for fun with no real time constraints and obligations. It makes the process really fun and relaxing. And now I kind of use my comic to escape from real life. Like, I just work on something that no one asked for, you know. I think it kind of shows in the way I write too, that it's fun and relaxing for me to do. So some of you might ask, why do you make a Patreon if giving you money doesn't make you produce more? And it's a fair question. So with all that being said, I still work dozens of hours per month on this comic, so I feel like it's not inconceivable to want to earn a bit of money for all that hard work. It also means that I can put a bit of money aside for print runs, and you know, when I'm in between two animation projects, sometimes the pause between two projects can be very long, like several months. So it means that I don't have to look for another less interesting project and use my savings to work fully on Humor Me in that time. Question 19 already. If Humor Me had the opportunity to become an original, would you want it to? Not really, no. To be perfectly honest, in Humor Me's early days, I was offered twice, I think, to become a featured webcomic artist, but I declined because, well, partly because it would mean leaving my job to work full-time on the comic, and as I said earlier, it's not something I really want. And also, I didn't really feel like rebooting my story, and if I had wanted to keep my current art style and post weekly, I would have had to hire an assistant, and while I don't really know what Webtoon pays for their featured stories, I'm pretty sure it would be hard to pay two people with that. And from what I've heard, like, the schedule becomes quickly completely hellish, and I'm getting old and I don't want to risk my health for this story, you know. That being said, I am a featured artist for my short story, link in the description. So I've worked a bit with Webtoon's editors, and it was really a great experience. They were super nice, and that is something that is lacking for Humor Me, I guess, to have an editor just to bounce ideas off, and I think that it would bring a lot to the story. Would you like Humor Me to become an anime? Oh yes. Or a K-drama, you know? I don't think it would work as a long feature film, but as a series it would work. But yeah, as an animator myself, I would really want to see it move and get voices and everything. If I had more time, I would like animate little scenes and stuff like that, but I'm trying to pick my battles, you know. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck? Question 22. What's Charlie's mom's name? Her name is Claire. Biggest stylistic influences and favorite writer. So I'm not really sure for this story. I think it kind of has a bit of a Ghibli vibe in the way, like, you know, Kiki's Delivery Service. There are no real bad guys. It's a feel-good story in a nice city and stuff like that. I think it's, well, as I said, inspired by mangas, a bit Disney style as well, or maybe not Disney, but some people compared it to the Iron Giant, which is super cool because I love that movie. It's my favorite movie in the world. I think for the humor, one of my biggest influence is this BBC radio show called Cabin Pressure. It's like my goals in terms of sarcasm and rhythm and characters, and it's just like if you can listen to it, please do. It's the best. And favorite writer for Humor Me, my favorite writer that inspires me would be a writer that I discovered after starting to write the story, but you've probably seen a lot of fan arts from me for these stories. It's a fan fiction writer called Murky Blue Matter. or violet, and yeah, it's a Harry Potter fanfiction that is so incredibly well written and fantastic and epic. And I'm gonna put the link in the description because I feel like everyone who likes my comic would adore this story. So yeah. And Violet writes a webcomic as well, a featured webcomic called Forever After. So yeah, there is that too. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not really the type to go fish for cool art style and stuff to influence me. I'm just like, I barely have the time to work on the comic itself. So why is Humor Me in black and white? Mainly because I can't do colors. Well, it's not I can't do colors, but I don't really like doing things by half, you know, and if I used colors, I would want it to mean something in the story, use it, you know, to create ambiences and stuff like that, and it would take a lot of time, and I have little training in colors, so I might not be able to do something that I would find satisfying. Also, I feel like the fact that I use black and white makes it easier to hide the fact that there are very few backgrounds. Like in some pages there are no backgrounds at all, and I don't know, it feels like more homogenic, is that a word? Homogeneous. Also, it's a lot cheaper to print. What is your favorite expression to draw? When it comes about improving your art comic-wise, what helps you? I think a good way to go about it would be not to think about the art at all when you write the story. Like, I write the scenes as I want them, even though like I have no idea how to draw fight scenes, for example, or that it's super ambitious in terms of backgrounds. Like, it's a problem for future Marvin, and future Marvin's gonna hate me for it, but it doesn't matter because future Marvin is gonna thank me for it because it means that I've learned something. I don't know. So yeah, just do what's good for the story, and then it will take you out of your comfort zone. Question 27. How did you end up with this art style? Any advice for newbies? So, like you said, I ended up with this art style. I did not come up with it because I don't think that an art style is a goal in itself. It's the inevitable result of practicing drawing. So you draw, you try things, you tell the story, and then you look back and you're just like, oh, so that's the direction I took, that's what I'm comfortable drawing, that's my current style, you know. So of course you can try to get rid of some drawing habits and develop others, but personally I really do not care about my style. I'm not an illustrator, so I never really draw just for the beauty of it. Most of the time it's just a mean to an end. It serves the story or the animation I'm working on. So I try to improve my drawing skills just so that my stories and animations get better, not just my art in itself. So as an advice, I would say that if you want to become a better comic artist, you might want to focus on the story and then practice whatever art skill you need to serve this story. What did you have for breakfast last night? What is your writing and drawing process? What is the easiest and hardest part of the process? Okay, so as I said earlier, I have the whole story outlined. So I just have to write what's in the chapters. So I usually do that whenever I'm stuck in a train or if I'm away from my main computer and tablet for some reason. As for the drawing process, I try to alternate. Like, I'm gonna clean one page of chapter A that is already thumbnailed. Then I thumbnail 3 pages of chapter B. Then I clean another pages of chapter A. Then 3 pages of chapter B extra. And that means that I don't get bored easily, and when I'm, you know, in a bit of a slump or very tired because like after a full work day I'm dead on my feet and I don't want to think too heavily, then I'm just gonna clean a page. Like, it's a bit more mechanical and I can take my mind off things. And I try to keep a 15 pages buffer, and whenever I reach 20, which is kind of rare, I post a surprise update. So you ask about what the easiest and hardest part, which is different from what I like most and what I dislike most. So I would say the easiest part would be to draw the line art of the characters, and the hardest part is the overall writing. And so you didn't ask for it, but the part I like most, I think, is thumbnailing, because it's super hard, but it's very rewarding, and you feel like, you get into such an energy to have this whole chapter planned out, and it's pretty fast, and it's, you have the rhythm, the jokes, and it's I'm really into it in that part, I'm gonna say. And the part I hate the most is drawing backgrounds and doing the grayscales. It's very boring. How long does it take to draw an episode? Do you find yourself losing motivation, and how do you overcome it? It's a bit hard to say how long it takes me to draw a page, because since I work on it at night and in the weekend, it's not like I can fully concentrate on a page for a full day, which sometimes I do, but it's pretty rare. But I would say that it takes me from maybe 6 to 10 hours to draw a page, and one episode is 4 to 5 pages. So yeah, I rarely lose motivation because of my process. When I'm particularly fired up, I'm gonna work on the most creative parts of the process, like writing and some thumbnailing. And if I'm feeling a bit down and unmotivated, I will just clean pages a bit mindlessly. Do you use references? It depends. I take a lot of photos on the streets whenever I'm like, oh, this is pretty, I could use it for an outdoor scene. And I've built in 3D some of the most recurring places, like Charlie's house and Isaac's cafe, so that I have, a base to trace over. As for the characters, I use a mirror mostly. It's always next to my... Oh, hello. Hey, look. Oh, you've seen it briefly, but this is my outline. Whoa. I put it that way. Yay. The timeline of me. All spoilers. So yeah, I always have a mirror next to my tablet, so that I can do expressions, and mainly the hands. Hands are tricky, and if I have a particularly hard angle and tricky pose, I might use a 3D model, but it happened maybe 3 times in the story so far, because somehow I never managed to pose it right. It's always a bit wonky, weird, and I doesn't talk to me that much. Where do you think you've improved since making this story? I don't know, you tell me. No, seriously, I don't really know. I guess I'm slowly becoming more solid on every different aspects of comic making. I mean, you can't really get worse, can you? How does it make you feel that the readers will barely glance half a sec at your drawings, even though you put so much work into them? Pretty good, actually. I mean, if people stopped to look at each panel, the rhythm would be completely broken. So if people barely glance half a sec at a panel before jumping to the next, it means I actually meant them to do so. Most rewarding and challenging experience in starting the comic? I think it was talking about it to my colleagues, because I used to be very shy about it. It was my secret. Because it's kind of making comic is kind of a personal project, and my friends and colleagues are all so good at drawing and stuff like that, so I feel like they would judge me. But in the end, I kind of was outed by someone, I think. But it was a good thing, because not only did they not judge me, but a lot of them read the story and actually liked it, so I was really surprised. But I admit that the fact that I had you guys backing me up in a way made me feel it's okay if they don't like my story, because some people do, so it means something. Like, it's not for nothing, even if my colleagues don't like it, you know. And the fact that I ended up printing a physical copy helped a lot, because, you know, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, you're making a webcomic, that's cute. And then they see the book, like the physical book with 200 pages in it, and they're like, oh wow, this is actually real work, like, you're doing this? And suddenly it has a lot more value in their eyes for some reason. So yeah, it helped. What's this about a physical copy? Okay, so this is the thing. This is volume 1. It's from chapter 1 to 9, so you might have seen brief photos of it on Twitter and at the end of episodes, because for now it's only for conventions, but I really like it. Like, it has a test jacket and so many pages, and I know it's a bit wonky, it's not perfect, but yeah, I really like the result of it, and I wish, I really hope I'll be able to make it available worldwide someday, but I do not want to take care of all the shipping and stuff. I do not like the idea of it having to cross oceans to get to people. I'm still looking into a solution for this. Also, I do not want you to have to pay like 3 times the price of the book in shipping fees. It's like, it doesn't make sense. And so yeah, I keep saying that I have maybe a solution in mind, but I keep looking into it. I do not have currently the time to really fully commit to looking into it, but it is my goal that it is someday available. Meanwhile, I'll keep making volumes, so if it's not available now, maybe you might be able to buy it if you want to when there are several volumes out, so you might save shipping fees if I haven't found a better solution. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you posted, I swear. Any merch in the making? So, like, you know, I just said I don't really like stuff having to cross oceans for no reason, so I'm not exactly into merchandising for that reason, and I don't like stuff like plastic charms and stuff like that, because it's not eco-friendly enough. That being said, I have found a company that makes t-shirts and prints, I think, and they seem to be a lot more considerate of the planet. Like, they use biodegradable inks and recycled clothes and stuff like that, so maybe I'll go with that one. And like, t-shirts might be the only merch I really want to make, because I'd like to make the t-shirts that my characters are wearing available, much more than having a t-shirt with a big Q Marie on the chest, you know that. No. Any plans for future comics? Not exactly. I do have other projects in mind, but they are not exactly comic related. But I think it's a good thing, because I still have quite a long way to go before finishing Humor Me, and I wouldn't want to, you know, be yearning to start something else before finishing, you know. I'm quite happy with being excited by my current story. I think that whenever the end is gonna be near, I might start to think about a new project, but for now, nope. Do you mind fanworks? Where can we send it? I really love fanworks. If you make any, please send it my way. It's gonna make me really happy. So you can either mention me on Twitter or Instagram. You can put it on the dedicated channel on the Discord server. Or if you're shy and you're not on social medias, you can send it to me via email. I'll put everything in the description. But yeah, like recently I had a new fan fiction. That makes me so very happy, especially when it shows how the readers really get my characters. And I don't know, it's my goal in making anything. It's like creating a sandbox that people want to play in. Some people ask me about my favorite original or canvas comic, so I'll end this Q&A with some recommendations. So unfortunately, I really very rarely have the time to read other webtoons, but I do have some. So for originals, I already talked about it, but one of my favorites is Spirit Fingers. It's a feel-good slice of life about self-discovery and relationships, and I don't know, it puts a smile on your face when you read it, and it's very, very good. I also like I Love You by Quimshi, but I'm super behind on the story. As for Canvas, I really love Jamie by Indigo, which is a bit on the same vibe as Humor Me, I think. It's a story about two young guys falling in love, but it's super, like, it's not cliche or anything. It's very, very feel good too, and I feel like I need feel good stories these days, and I'm not the only one. And recently I discovered a story called Honborian by Olive Coat, and it seems to have a lot of potential because it's not a slice of life for once. It has like this epic story in the making, but it still concentrates a lot on the characters and not only on the epicness of the story, which is like super good. And in a completely different style, I would recommend Rodney R. Rodney by Violaine Bria. It's just absolutely hilarious, and the author has this way to make you care irrevocably for the most improbable character ever, so I really recommend you read it. So this is the end of this Q&A. Thanks for sending all these questions. I hope I answered sufficiently. Thanks for your interest in general and sticking with me for so long. It's been 6 years already, and I am as frustrated as I am proud that it has been so long since I started. So yeah, thanks for your patience and your kindness, and even though I'm slow, I don't plan on quitting anytime soon, so I hope you stick with me and my silly story for the years to come. Bye!